More of Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy comes your way now. And make sure to join me, Larry Elder, tonight at 7, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're pleased to be joined by our friend Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, senior economist, or chief economist for CNN. Hey, Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. I'm sorry I missed you yesterday. I was hungover from the Capitals parade in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yes, your hockey club.
Did you go?
Well, how many times did the Blackhawks won? What, 3 times in 10 years or something? So
Yeah,
it's about time you share the wealth a little bit.
Did you really go to the parade, Stephen?
Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time, and it was a beautiful day. And we don't have all these championships like the Cubs and the Blackhawks and the White Sox and so on.
Oh yeah,
so.
all these championships like the Cubs.
I mean,
winning
gets tiresome.
Yeah, but the Cubs fans are tired of winning. Actually, they're indifferent to winning. Steve, before we get into all things economic, status on your friend Larry Kudlow after his mild heart attack.
Well, I've got really good news. He's out of the hospital, and I expect within a week, maybe 2, but I'm going to guess within a week he's back on the job. So, it was a scare. I mean, I almost had a cardiac arrest when I got the call Tuesday night that.
Well, where was he and what happened?
I don't know all the details of that. I think he was just feeling severe chest pains, and they rushed him over to Walter Reed Hospital, and the good news it was a kind of minor heart attack. Now look, any heart attack is serious, but the other problem that Larry's going to have, and I told him this from the start when he took the job, is look, Donald Trump is a freak of nature, right? That's a guy who works 20 hours a day. I've never seen anyone with the stamina and energy of Donald Trump. And I told him, you're not going to be able to keep up with Donald Trump because nobody can. I remember after, working, when we worked with him on the campaign, we'd spend 1 or 2 days with him on the campaign trail, and I would be completely exhausted after 48 hours of that. And Trump was doing it day after day after day. So, he's going to have to pace himself, Larry, when he gets back on the job. And, the other thing he's going to have to do, guys, is stop smoking. Larry, if you're listening to the show, stop smoking.
Sure. Well, do you think that Justin Trudeau's eyebrow was the proximate cause of the heart attack?
Well, it was Larry who. Here's the interesting thing that didn't really get picked up by many people in the media, which is that at the very end of that G7 meeting, Trump put forward a Larry Kudlow idea, which was, and it threw everybody for a loop. It was basically, why don't we go to zero tariffs? Why don't we all just cut our tariffs to zero? Well, these sanctimonious Europeans almost had a heart attack themselves when Trump said that. Because Trump does have a point. Look, I'm a free trader. You guys know that. And obviously, trade across international borders is positive for both countries. But it is true, and nobody in the media seems to want to report this, that the United States does have lower tariffs than the Europeans, and then certainly than the Japanese and the Canadians. And Trump is basically saying, look, how can you lecture us about our tariffs when your tariffs are higher than ours? And I think he's got a point there. And if Trump can prevail here, I think we're going to see freer trade, not more tariffs.
Well, with respect to that, is Trump posturing when he says no tariffs, no subsidies? Or is he posturing when he advances tariffs and protectionist policies? Or is he posturing in both cases and he's just trying to get to a deal?
Well, that's a good question, Dan. And, the truth is it's always negotiating with Trump, and it is always about the art of the deal. But honestly, I do think that his goal at the end of the day is to get the tariffs down. So that, American companies have more access to U.S. markets. And another one, by the way, because I just thought that the Europeans and the Canadians were so indignant, at that meeting. But, I'll give you another example where something just doesn't work for us anymore that the Canadians are doing. They're imposing price controls on our pharmaceutical products. So our drugs and vaccines and other medical products that go over there, they impose price controls on our companies. Now, why does that hurt Americans? Because it means we get stuck, covering all of the cost of developing these drugs. If Americans are wondering why, drug costs are so high in the United States, it's because a lot of these other countries impose these, they don't honor our patents, and then they charge, much lower prices, and we can't live with that because why should Americans who do all the cost of developing these drugs? It costs $2 billion to develop a new drug. Then the Canadians basically get it for free, and that's true of the Europeans as well. So it's a little example of the kind of thing that goes on. And look, Trump said during the campaign, the rest of the world is laughing behind our back. In a lot of ways, they are. And my favorite line, by the way, of the weekend was when Trump said, "We're not going to be the piggy bank of the world anymore." And I think a lot of Americans applauded when he said that.
Well, aren't we haggling though over that? Was it if you talk about the dairy business in Canada?
Yeah.
Isn't it about $600 million?
It's a big deal. What Illinois is a dairy state, is it not? You've got cows there. I know it's a very agricultural state. I grew up there. That's another example, exactly, Amy, of a very high tariff on American products. By the way, the people who suffer the most from that are the Canadians, right? They have to pay more for milk and butter and other eggs and dairy products. So, if you want free trade, let's have free trade. But a lot of these countries, lecture Trump when he says, "Well, I'm going to impose a tariff on you," but they have, in a lot of cases. And by the way, the worst actor by far on the world stage is China. China is become so difficult for American companies to penetrate that market as they sell us more and more stuff. And look, I love going into Walmart and getting damn near everything I need for 99 cents. Thank you, China. But at some point, they have to open up their markets to us.
Speaking of trying to lower costs, Sally Pipes writing in Investors Business Daily about projected Obamacare premium spikes for 2019 being from 15%, or according to Blue Cross Blue Shield analysis, as much as 80% in some markets. And so we talked to Peter Roskam last hour about what House Republicans have in mind, and he talked about expanding health savings accounts, but. Are we at this point now where the backdoor takeover of health insurance is complete, and this is what it's going to be for the foreseeable future?
No, I don't think so. I think, look, what was the number you said, 15%?
15 to 80. Yeah,
15 to 80. Because I was going to say 15% increase would be an improvement over Obamacare for the last 5 years, which has been about 30% per year. It depends on what states you live in. A lot of states have seen a more than doubling of their premiums in the 5 or 6 years we've had Obamacare. So, I ain't saving $2,500 on my health insurance. I don't know about you guys. I think Obamacare is falling apart. I think it is in a death spiral where healthier people are dropping out of the market and sick people are signing up, and that is the definition of an insurance system that crashes. And I believe by the year 2020, which is only a couple years away, we are going to have a major, major debate in this country about what to do about health care. Are we going to move towards a free market system, where you can choose your own health plan and you can shop around and if you could do that, I think we could really lower premiums. Or are we going to move towards Bernie Sanders healthcare, where it's all just run by the government? And those are really the two choices, because Obamacare, it will not last. Obamacare will have crashed by 2020, in my opinion.
Kim Jong-un.
By the way, we better make the right decision there, right? Because we're talking about almost 1/5 of our economy.
Yeah.
Are we really going to go towards a Venezuela model of healthcare? Really? Are we going to move towards a system like we fund our, where we fund our schools? I said this, I think, maybe 100 times on your show, but the two industries in America where prices are completely out of control and quality is suffering is in education and healthcare. The two industries most dominated by government.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you about Kim Jong-un and President Trump, the bond that they forged. Do you think that this is a kind of a PR stunt, or do you think this is genuinely the beginning of a new relationship?
You mean in North Korea?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I honestly, I've been thinking a lot about this. It is true. I was running into one of my liberal friends last night, and, just so you know, I believe in fair play. He was saying, gee, if Barack Obama went over there and negotiated this deal, conservatives would be up in arms. He's giving away the farm and blah, 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 and this is just, a ploy and so on. I just don't really know. I do think that Trump, and I'm an admirer of Trump, but I think he suffers from the same kind of complex that Obama did, which is they're both very charming people in person, and they believe they can just charm anyone into getting what they want. And that's not the way international diplomacy works. You've got to do the hard work, and just the fact that they got along, right, famously, doesn't necessarily mean that somehow North Korea is going to change its behavior. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm being optimistic, and I think it was
Okay.
brilliant.
yeah, the
Well,
jury's
I'd
out.
like to be optimistic too, but I just worry that that the person who charmed the other one in this negotiation was Kim.
I think I think that's yet to play out. This is why everybody should holster their Nobel nominations. He is Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, CNN chief economist. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, have a great weekend. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you, and he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.